Okay, so hater, guys. So today's video is going to be my top 10 reads of the year. So we're going to start with the bottom 5 and then the top 5, but none of these are bottom 5 because I love and adore these books so much. So I really wanted to talk about my favorite 5-star reads of the entire year and 6-star reads as well. We found, I think, at least 3 6-star reads in this stack. So yeah, I wanted to start with honorable mentions though really quick before I get into the top 10. I actually do own all of these books physically except for one of them, but I wasn't gonna like grab all of the physical books because like some of them are like under stacks of books and it's just like a pain in the ass. But I wanted to make sure I grabbed at least the physical copies of my top 10 books because obviously I own all of those. I mean, how could I not? Okay, so first honorable mention is Our Infinite Fates by Laura Steven. I loved this book so much, you guys. I cried so much when I read it. It's just so beautifully written. And I just think that her writing is so bingeable. It was such a short, quick romantasy. And it was just beautiful. I loved it. I cried multiple times in that book. It's where they're fated to kill each other in every lifetime. And it was just such an incredible book. And I knew it was going to be 5-star from when I opened it to page 1. Like, I was just immediately hooked, immediately immersed in their love story. And I loved it. It was just so good. Why is this like blinding the crap out of me? Okay. Next up, the other since we're talking about romantices first, we might as well talk about the other romantasy that I really stuck out to me this year, and that is A Fate, Fortune, Fire by Hazel McBride. That was such a surprising 5-star read for me, but the slow burn was slow burning in it, and the fantasy and the magic system was just so fascinating and so interesting and so intriguing. I literally cannot wait for book 2 in this world. I cannot believe we're going to be getting 5 separate duologies in this world, and I'm going to eat up every single one. I do own the physical copy of the first one, and I loved it. It was just so good, so bingeable, and I thought that this slow burn was so much better done, so much more well done than Shield of Sparrows. Shield of Sparrows was just too slow burn, and it was just getting like annoying with the build up. I was like, can we just like get somewhere, like, because this is starting to get pointless. But I still enjoyed Shield of Sparrows, but not as much as the slow burn and A Fate, Fortune, Fire. I think it was just so well done. Okay, and then let's talk about 3 romances actually. I had Ready or Not. I did read that this year. So let's talk about Cara Bastone first. Ready or Not and Promise Me Sunshine, both by Cara Bastone, were both 5-star romance reads for me. I just love and adore her writing. I'm so happy that I decided to read her books this year. I mean, I've only read 2 of them, just those 2. But then I did also listen to her audiobook exclusive. What the hell is that called? Why can't I remember what it's called? It's where, like, she does, like, a time slip kind of romance. And I can't remember what it's called. Why did I just put in Cara? It's called, I have to listen to her other audiobooks. Better Luck Next Time. I thought it was hysterical. Ready or Not is, like, a accidental pregnancy, romance. And a lot of people get upset with that pregnancy, with that trope. Honestly, I could care less about it. It does not bother me whatsoever. It does happen in real life all the time, so I don't know why people don't love that trope, or like if it's like kind of cringy or not well done, then yeah, I probably wouldn't love it either. But Ready or Not and Out on a Limb by Hannah Bonham Young are both like exceptions to that rule because everybody ends up loving both of those books. But I just think her writing actually reminds me a lot of Hannah Bonham Young's writing as well. I've read all of Hannah Bonham Young's books as well. I've read 3 of them this year, but None of them stuck out to me as much as Out on a Limb, which I read last year, so I wasn't going to include it this year because I didn't read it this year. But Ready or Not and Promise Me Sunshine, I just loved them. And then Promise Me Sunshine, her books are very slow burn, but the build up and the way that she builds up the chemistry between the two characters is just beautifully done. And Promise Me Sunshine is where she loses her best friend and she tries to learn how to live again. And I could relate to this story deeply because I've mentioned multiple times on my channel that I have lost my best friend back in 2021. And, it was hard for me to do the same thing. But, my friends are my absolute rock and I love and adore them. And they were the ones that kept me going. So, and then the last one I wanted to mention before we get into the top 10 is My Friends by Fredrik Backman. If you guys know, and if you've watched my other reading videos, you know I will not shut up about this man's writing. I love his writing so much. He's become my absolute favorite author this year. And I'm so happy I decided to read his books this year and pick them up because this man, the way he writes his words on paper and his quotes and his passages, I get emotional just reading captions of his Instagram posts. That's how much this man has affected me emotionally. They're written so beautifully. I was like, how is it that someone's Instagram post is making me tear up every time I read them? But literally, if I go back and read some of his quotes on Goodreads, because sometimes I like going back and just reading some of the highlights of because Beartown is literally my most quoted series probably ever on Goodreads. I literally quote every single page, and sometimes I just go back and read them, and I'm ready to be in tears again because that's how much this man has emotionally impacted me. So My Friends was beautiful. I loved it so much. It's about a group of friends where you don't know which friends are alive and which friends are not with us anymore. And you find out throughout the book who is telling the story and who has lived and who has unfortunately passed away. And it's so beautifully written. And I love his writing so much. I don't need to rave about him anymore because I'm going to rave about him later on in this list because obviously one of his books made this list. I mean, how could it not? So let's start with number 10. So number 10 is House of the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. TJ Klune is the Fredrik Backman of cozy fantasy. The way that this man writes his books is just so beautiful and so touching, but it's not the way that Fredrik Backman writes his books where it's totally devastating you. I think that the way TJ Klune writes his cozy fantasies is pure genius because he has a way of integrating messages in these magical fairy tale kind of writing, but still doesn't shove the message down your throat, even though if it is a political message. The way that he integrates it into his magical storytelling is unmatched, to be honest. I really haven't read anyone quite like his writing. And this story is just such a beautiful love story between Linus and Arthur, and the way that that their relationship grows in this book is just so beyond beautiful. And the way that Linus becomes attached to the kids in this orphanage that Arthur runs, and they all get very deeply connected to Linus towards the end of the book, and his humor and his banter between the kids is absolutely hysterical. But then I couldn't help but cry at the end of this book with Linus and Arthur's romance because it just impacts you so much. But also just the found family in this book is pure perfection. And if you just want to read something that you want to be emotionally impacted but not completely devastated, I would highly suggest TJ Klune's writing. Most people adore this man for a good reason. So I really haven't not seen many negative reviews on his books, if any. So he's popular for a reason. The man knows how to write a good freaking book. So I pretty much have this was a 5-star read for me. My 6-star read from him was Under the Whispering Door, which I read last year. That's still my absolute favorite book from him. And then I did read Somewhere Beyond the Sea as well. So I'm so glad that I read a couple more of his books this year. And I'm so glad I finally read this one because this was on the tip top of my list for so long. I do want to read more of his books this year, but at least I've read 3. And my goal was to read them before Comic-Con because when I went to Comic-Con last year, y'all know, of course, I had to buy all the book merch last year that I could get my hands on because I was like the first full year of reading that I had in my entire life because that's when I became completely obsessed with reading. So I've only been an avid reader for maybe almost 2 years at this point. I think this October will mark 2 years of me being a super avid reader. So, and when I went to one of these booths, they had all the TJ Klune merch you could possibly want. And I had told them, like, I actually haven't read any TJ Klune yet. And they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, but I've mostly read every other author that you sell here. I've read mostly every other author. Like, I had read Assistant to the Villain. I had read Throne of the Fallen, ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, etc. Like, they sold all that stuff there. And they're like, you need to do yourself a favor and read TJ Klune. And I'm so happy that I did, because then I read Under the Whispering Door a little bit after Comic-Con, and I absolutely loved it. So I was like, I need to make his writing a priority, and his books are priority, and I absolutely loved them. Okay, next up is number 9, which is Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale. You guys, I don't know why I put off this wonderful woman's writing for so long. Like, I think it's because I get a little bit scared to read her books because I always know I am going to be a crying mess after I finish her books. But her books end up becoming my top reads of the entire year. And 2 of her books are on this list because the way that she writes is phenomenal. Pure genius. Again, I'm going to say that a lot, but her writing is genius. Like, I didn't think I was going to be a historical fiction reader. I never thought that that would be a genre that I would be honestly remotely interested in. Like, the only historical fiction that I read last year, or a couple of historical fictions, was 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and Lovely War by Julie Berry. Is that her name? Pretty sure that's her name. And I loved that because it had a fantasy element to it. But this, I don't know why I was just so intimidated by this book, and I knew if I read this book I was going to be a total wreck. But I literally could not physically put this book down. It's just the way that she writes her historical fiction is so fast-paced, but you're so immersed in her storytelling and her writing, you cannot help but you need to finish her books. Like, you literally, they're just unputdownable. And this is such a beautiful story of 2 sisters during World War II in Paris. The things that they go through in this book are devastating. Devastating. But she always makes me cry with her endings, and the way that she wraps up her books are so beautiful that there is like a bit of hope at the end, but she'll rip your heart out before you get there, okay? This book is phenomenally written. I consider this a classic because this is still, I think, her most popular book ever, for good reason. This book is phenomenal, and for anyone that is getting into historical fiction, I just say read Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale. do yourself a favor and start with this book because you will be blown away by her writing. I really don't see anybody not liking her writing either. They're at the tip top of their game. These are some of my favorite authors of all time that are on this list. So I loved this book. It was so good. Okay, next up is honestly the biggest shocker that this is my top romance book of the entire year. I am so surprised that this book beat out all of the other romances that I have read this year. This one has stuck out to me so much since I've read it. I'm just so shocked because I really did not like the other 3 books that I read from this author besides the first one that I read from her. But there was something that happened in that book that I didn't really like. But I was so shocked that this book was my top romance of the year, and that is One Golden Summer by Carley Fortune. This book, you guys, every time I hold this book and every time I talk about it, my heart just leaps out of my chest on how emotional that I think about these 2 characters in this book. It's just such a beautifully written romance. Like, I was quoting this constantly because I had originally borrowed it from Libby because I was like, I don't know if I really want to buy this book because, like I said, I didn't really like Meet Me at the Lake or This Summer Will Be Different. I really did like Every Summer After. I was getting 5-star feelings from it, but I just didn't really love the cheating trope in that book. But this book, you guys, is her best book she's ever written. But this is also one of my favorite romance books ever. This beat out Emily Henry's Great Big Beautiful Life and Say You'll Remember Me by Abby Jimenez this year. This was my top romance of the year. And that is saying a lot from an author that I didn't really love the previous books that I read from her. I just think this is such a beautiful love story of not just the romance between the 2 of them, but how much history there was between the 2 characters and how much history there is at the lake, because this is Charlie's love story and the love interest's name is Alice. And I can't describe this book without you guys reading this. It's just Alice goes to back to the lake with her grandmother to spend one golden summer there, and Charlie lets Alice stay in his lake house that's there, but also she hasn't seen Charlie in a really long time. They never dated when they were kids growing up at the lake, but she had always liked him when they were growing up, and then they develop a romance over this course of this one summer together. And just like the way that Carley Fortune writes the atmosphere of summer in this book, you literally can taste the water and the wind and the sand in your hair. I love this book so much, you guys, and this is a 5, maybe 6-star. This might be my only 6-star romance that I found this year. I think I'm gonna say it. It's 6 stars. I absolutely love this book. I literally can never stop thinking about it, and every time I pick it up, I'm like, I just want to go back and experience reading this book again because I just love it. I love and adore this book, and I'm so happy that she's getting the hype that she deserves with this one because everybody's saying the same thing. Everybody's like, God damn, that book is so fucking good. I'm like, yeah, it's my favorite summer romance by far. She knocked everybody else out of the water. Loved it. And it was so weird that I loved this book so much more than It's a Love Story by Annabelle Monaghan, which she is one of my favorite authors, and I've rated all of her books 4 or 5 stars. And then It's a Love Story, I just was so disappointed by. And then I read this book right after that because I'm like, I need to read a good summer romance. But again, I was so hesitant to get into this, and I loved it. I loved it so much. I think the only reason why I didn't give it 6 stars is because it took me a little while to get into it in the beginning because I was so hesitant to see whether or not I was actually going to like this. And again, I was so surprised. So absolutely loved this. You just really need to read it for yourself. If you're looking for a good summer romance, you want to read a good summer romance while we're still in the depths of summer, read that book. Just do yourself a favor and read it. Okay, next up. This one originally was number 10. I was like, I can't do that. Even though it's, sorry, Monica texted me about the Chestnut Springs books because I'm currently reading the first book in the Chestnut Springs series because I finally decided to start it because I wanted to make that my summer series. But the audiobooks are not available in the US, so I've had to read it all on my Kindle. Oh my god, I've had to read a book physically? What? I've had to read it all physically? Okay, number 7. This was originally number 10 because it has 10 in the title, and I'm like, no, I cannot rank this on the bottom of the list. Are you kidding me? And that is Releasing 10 by Chloe Walsh. Of course, if there's a Boys of Tommen book that comes out, if it comes out in that year, or if I know a Boys of Tommen book is coming out every year, it's gonna be in my top 10. Regardless, it's gonna be in my top 10 list. I mean, you guys know this is my favorite series of all time. The way that these characters emotionally impact you, I didn't think I was gonna be so freaking devastated by this book. Like, this was probably the most surprising book in the Boys of Tommen series that I was actually surprised that I liked as much as I did, or loved as much as I did. It was absolutely devastating, though, but I felt the same way about this one. Actually, the next 3 books that I'm talking about, One Golden Summer, this one, and the next book I'm talking about, were probably the biggest surprises on this list that I ended up loving them as much as I did. And this is obviously a 6-star read because every single book in the Boys of Tommen series is a 6-star book for me because, well, it's a 6-star series. They're all 5 stars, but like some of them are 6 stars more than others. This one might be a 5-star, but still, it's 5 stars. Like, I was so hesitant to go into this book because I really did not like Liz in Taming 7. I think she's so mean to Gibbsy. And there's still like a little part of me that's like, you really shouldn't have not taken your anger out on Gibbsy for what happened to you. But besides that, I can understand her now. And her story is absolutely devastating. I cried so much listening to this book, you guys. I don't physically read these books. I listen to them because I absolutely love and adore the narrators' voices of these. And the emotional impact that this book had on me, I was crying so much when this was over. I had to pause the book and listen to something else when I was like getting ready, doing my makeup. I could not actually physically listen to it because I started tearing up. And I'm like, if I cry my makeup off while I'm getting ready, I'm going to have to wipe it off and do it all over again. So I had to like switch to something like completely happy. I think I was listening to, was it Love on the Brain? It was something that was like the complete opposite of this. I just had to read something that was super happy and super non-emotional after I finished this book, and then I was going to go into another super emotional book that literally made it in the top 5 this year. But I just loved it. I really did. But it is very dark, very triggering. So out of all the books on this list, highly recommend checking your trigger warnings for this one because there are some really, really dark topics that Chloe Walsh goes into in this book with Lizzie, especially because being in Lizzie's head in this book, and I said this on, was it TikTok? Hold on, let me see if this video is actually okay. It is. The last time I filmed a continuous clip and I didn't pause it because I like doing that. I like just filming unedited clips like all the way through. It didn't film, so just wanted to make sure it did. But being in her head in this book is absolutely devastating. It will shatter you, literally. I was crying on the floor for a good 10 minutes after I finished this book. That's how sad this book is. So, but Lizzie and Huey, I'm maybe the part 2 to this book maybe might not be as devastating as this one, because since we got Lizzie's full backstory in this, maybe it won't be as sad. I think more so maybe the end of the book will be more sad. But I don't know with Chloe Walsh. I never know, because I always know she's going to make me cry anyway. But the fact that I cried so much to this book as compared to all the other books in the Boys of Thomas series, this was the one that made me cry the most. Because I feel like with the other books, I'm so numb listening to all these emotional stories from these amazing, beautiful characters that I almost like can't register the trauma that they're going through, that I'm just numb listening to it, that I'm like, why aren't I crying? I'm like, oh yeah, because I'm like permanently traumatized listening to their stories. But it's just, I've been with these characters for so long at this point that they're just like part of my DNA and part of my heart and soul, and I absolutely adore this series. So yeah, but it's very, very, very dark. Very dark. Okay, and then number 6. This book, you guys. I love this book so freaking much, you guys. This is probably like the most uplifting by the end of this book. But the way that it emotionally impacts you, it's so strong. And y'all, the general fiction genre this year, the fact that I think I have like 5 general fiction books in this top 10, I didn't think I was going to be such a strong general fiction girly too. But this book, you guys, I love this book so much. So number 6 is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. Oh my god, I loved this book so much. I'm gonna get emotional talking about this book. I just loved it. I love this book. Every time I talk about it, I don't care if people say that this is sorry, it's been a hard couple months for me. But I'm so excited to start my job at Apple. I'm so excited. I can't wait. Things are happening. And like this book, that's why it makes me cry so much, is that once you finish this book, you realize like how much, there's been so much going on in the world this year, and so many messed up, fucked up things that are going on in this country right now. And this book like just makes you think about like that there are still good people out there, that there is hope, and there is people that just want to uplift you and want to make sure that you do well in your life, and that they care about you, and they want you to be healthy, and they want you to be happy. This book is just so beautifully written. I mean, the way that she refers to humans in this book as remarkably bright creatures, not just the octopus Marcellus, he's one of my favorite characters ever. Oh my god, being in his head in this book is so funny, but also like the emotional depth of Marcellus in this book is so beautiful and so well written. But I just absolutely adore Shelby Van Pelt's writing. And I cannot believe that this is her debut novel. And this is the only book that she's written. And this book became huge. This was a huge hit. And for good reason. It's a phenomenal book. It's phenomenal. And Tova is just one of the best characters I've ever read in my entire life. She is the definition of never giving up. Never. She is like this older woman who has lost her son 20 years ago, but she also lost her husband too. And when every character in this book is so curious about how'd you even like move on? How'd you even live still? And the senior citizen representation in this book is so powerful. Basically saying, like, you know, and why Tova had such an emotional impact on me is that, you know, we tend to forget, like, the senior citizen population in this, especially in this country, when she is a working woman. She never, like, just sits still. She's always searching for her son. She wants to know what happened. And Marcellus is the one that helps her find out what happened to her son. It's just such a beautiful book. And I can't even, like, mention the other character. Like, she meets this other character that starts working at the aquarium, and then they start being drawn together, and then they uncover what happens to her son the night that he disappeared. And just the way that Tova is written, though, and the way that she just represents hope. And, you know, she basically said to people, you know, I just never gave up hope. I never stopped trying. Like, but also I love that she basically, the message that is, like, so integrated into this book and so impactful is that just because you're old doesn't mean you have to stop living or stop hoping or stop caring or trying to, you know, be happy. And that's why I loved this book. I love this book so much. But also the hopefulness of this book at the end is just, it's so beautiful. This book is so beautiful. I just love it. I could rave about it for forever. But yeah, I got pretty emotional talking about that one. So, sorry about that. But you know, I'm human, so I'm not sorry. Okay, so time for the top 5. Woot, woot, woot. Of course, number 5. This is the second time she's made an appearance on this list, and I think she's the only repeat author on this list that has 2 books on my top 10. And that is Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. This book is so beautiful. I loved it. I loved it so much. It's about 2 best friends, and their names are Kate and Tully. And Tully has always had a rough childhood. She basically thinks that her family doesn't really care about her because her mom is a pothead and an alcoholic. And her grandmother has to bring her up and take care of her. And Kate is, you know, the complete opposite. She has a very caring and loving family. Her parents support her like 100%. But Tully and Kate develop a friendship, and there's a traumatic event that happens at a party that they're at when they're in high school, and they end up bonding, and they end up becoming best friends. And it's just, it really, even though, like, some people said that, you know, Tully was a bit mean to Kate, and she didn't really understand why they were friends in this book, because they don't really fit together. And honestly, I could kind of understand why she made Tully and Kate so different. Not because of the way, just because of the way they were raised, but just like with female friends being friends with other girls, there's always an underlying jealousy or competition with literally absolutely everything because we're girls. It's just, it doesn't mean we're always competing and doing that to one-up each other. There's just like a slight underlying jealousy because that's how we are as women. Like, sometimes we can't even control it, but that doesn't mean we're not going to be friends with that person because we love and adore their company and we want to be friends with them. That's why we are friends with them. But like, there are some things that Tully does that, like, I was like, you know, but at the same time, I can understand because I literally went through these things with my best friend when she was alive. And also that's why this book impacted me so much, because unfortunately one of them ends up passing away. I'm not going to say who, or ends up getting cancer. I mean, that's not really spoiling anything. I think most people know the story of this at this point. Most people have read this book. But if you haven't, then just skip ahead. But that's literally the only thing I'm going to say about it. But I just loved it. It was just so good. I cried for a good 10 minutes straight after I finished it. It was just, and I cried multiple times reading it, but it's just so beautifully written. And again, I don't binge that many books physically anymore, but this one, again, I could not put it down. I had to know what happened to Tully and Kate at the end. It's just like, I don't understand how she makes her books so unputdownable. And again, this was so fast paced and so well written, and I just loved it. This was a 6-star read for me, actually. I loved it. It was beautifully written. But I actually have 2 romantices before we talk about the top 2. But we can't talk about these books without mentioning my 2 favorite romantices this year. I mean, romanticy has become one of my favorite categories since I became an avid reader. I just love it. I probably read it way more than romanticy, than regular fantasy, than romanticy. Like, literally, I'm talking about romanticy. Hello, Caitlin. But my top book this year is a fantasy book. Just fantasy, not romanticy. So, I need to read more fantasy, obviously. So, number 4, Don't Yell at Me, is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I mean, come on. How could this not be in my top 10? I mean, it's Onyx Storm. Like, I love Fourth Wing. Like, Fourth Wing got me into romantasy. So, Fourth Wing was literally the first romantasy book I've ever read in my life. And I love it. It's just, I love this series. It's about Violet Sorrengail being a badass, fighting dragons, and saving Xaden's ass. And it's about a dragon academy that if you don't bond with your dragon, you're going to die. And that's basically it. So, you can die at any point. And I really did want to re-listen to this, and also there's something that happens to Xaden at the end of the second book that Violet has to save him yet again. Xaden's also confronted with some family issues in this book. A lot of Violet's friendships develop in this book. We also find out what Violet's second signet is in this book. So a lot of story progression happens in this. I know some people thought it was a little bit slow in the middle. I really need to re-listen to this book at some point, though, because I actually was going to after I finished it, but I was like, I don't know if I could put that through myself through that. Close together as to when I had finished it originally, because I literally finished this in 2 days. I literally could not put it down. But then after I finished it, I literally stared at the wall for like a good 20 minutes, and I was like, the fuck am I gonna do now? Literally made me stare at a wall, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? I have to wait you're telling me we have to wait 2 years till the 4th book? Like, Rebecca, I've said this every single time I talk about this series. She got the world in a chokehold. She really has the world in a chokehold, because you can't say that Fourth Wing is not the most popular series in the past 3 years. Like, there hasn't been anything as big as Fourth Wing since Harry Potter. So, and Fourth Wing got people to read again, okay? Fourth Wing made reading cool, okay? So yeah, love this book. It's so good. I love that I got the Sprayed Edges edition from Target. I really wanted to get it from Barnes & Noble, but I just wanted to make sure that I got it from Target because it was cheaper than Barnes & Noble. And also, since I've had it sitting on my shelf like this now, the warping has completely gone away, because people did have a problem with that when they first got these books, because, you know, they mass produced millions of copies of these, and I think they cut corners in being like super cheap in producing them, which is ridiculous because they've made millions of dollars on this series, I'm sure. But I love this book, and so many things happen, And you don't know who's going to live and who's going to die, but honestly, you just need to read this for yourself. I have to be as vague as possible about this book because don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it yet, but it's just, oh, it's so good. I have so much fun reading Fourth Wing, and sometimes you just want to read for fun. You don't have to read to be emotionally impacted literally every time you read something, but I did cry a little bit at the end of Onyx Storm. I didn't cry in Iron Flame because I didn't really care about the person who died in Iron Flame, but I did cry at the end of Fourth Wing because the character that we lose really upset me. So anyway, number 3, and I was debating whether or not I was going to put this at number 4 and Onyx Storm at number 3, but honestly, I have not had this much fun and have been this addicted to a romantasy since Fourth Wing that I was like, I have to put this at number 3 because this is literally the most fun that I've ever had reading a romantasy this year, and that is Silver Elite by Dani Francis. I was obsessed and addicted to this book, you guys. Like, I loved it. It was just so much fun and so entertaining, and I think I blew through it in 2 days. I just could not put it down. Like, it was just so much fun, and I got the silver edges with the metallic sprayed edges, and it's just such a great time. It's such a great time. I don't care what people say about this book. Like, stop putting people down for enjoying books. Like, can we, like, not do that? You know, like, there's some books that I would never touch with a 10-foot pole, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna tell somebody else not to read it. Read whatever fuck you want. So, this is about Ren Darlington, who has to join the Silver Elite so she can survive, but also to find out what happened and the corruption that is going on in their government, pretty much. And she ends up falling in love with the captain, and they have a hot, sexy romance, and it's completely mindless, but the action in this book is so, so good. I don't care if this is insta-lusty, because then they describe why they're so instantly drawn to each other later in the book, and it's honestly, like, such a cool concept to me. There's a lot of sci-fi in this. There's also dystopian vibes. There's romantasy vibes. There's also the difference between this and the Hunger Games is that all of the characters have special abilities, and she has 4 abilities, and that's never been like a quality of the Silver Elite before, or literally like anyone who is in this society. So she's very unique, and that makes her very powerful. And it was just, so good. This book was so good. I loved it so much. There's a lot of deaths in this book, though. So check your trigger warnings if you're triggered by that, because there's a lot of sudden deaths in this that honestly had my jaw on the floor for pages, and I was like, no, I was like, what? So yeah, just so good. Loved this book so much. I just loved it. It was so good. Okay, top 2. Can you guess? I mean, they were over there, so you might have seen what they are, but let's see if it's recording. Okay, top 2 books. Number 2, this man needs no introduction. Fredrik Backman's Beartown. I'm not gonna get emotional. It's masterpiece. This series literally has left, like I said, like Boys of Tommen. I don't think I've been this emotionally impacted by a series since Boys of Tommen. This man, like I said, will rip your fucking heart out and shred it and tear it to absolute pieces, stomp on it, and then you have to try and put your heart back together. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, this series is all 6-star books for me. And I've never rated, like Boys of Tommen, there's, like I said, there's some 5-star and some 6-star. I mean, still love and adore them. But this, I've never rated every single book in a series 6 stars, because the way this man writes, and this was my first book by him, and I was devastated But books 2 and 3, book number 3 especially, oh my God, so sad. But I'm mentioning all 3 books in number 2 because I look at them as all one big story. So all of them are 6 stars for me. But I just bought the first one because I'm like, I need to at least own the first one because there's no way I can't. Because I actually didn't read any of this physically. I read it all on Kindle Unlimited, and I listened to the audiobooks. The only book that I've read physically by him is Anxious People, which is also another 5-star read, but I liked My Friends more than Anxious People, but all of his books are 5 stars for me, so or 6 stars, but the emotional impact of this series is what makes this series so freaking powerful. And hold on, sorry, my Siri went off. Is what makes this trilogy so freaking powerful. I'm just going to say trilogy because I don't want it to keep on going off when I say series. Because you're with these characters for so long, and I feel like that's why it has such a huge emotional impact on me. So basically, it's about a toxic hockey town and in Sweden, and all they are is obsessed with hockey. That hockey is their whole life. But the way that Fredrik Backman interweaves his characters' stories is pure genius. And I've said this multiple times, but it truly is an awe-inspiring experience to read his books for me. And also, people have said if you have ADD, his books are absolutely perfect for people with ADD like myself, because he writes in short passages about multiple characters, and he will repeat a certain message over and over and over again about certain events that you are piecing together as the story goes on like what crime was committed, because there is a buildup of like someone getting shot, and like he'll write like bullet sounds like boom boom boom, and he will integrate that literally so much in the book, but not in a like annoying repetitive kind of way. It's more so to like remind the reader that this is important and you need to remember this later. And that's why his writing is just pure genius to me, and the way that he writes about a certain character, but sometimes won't even say their name. He'll just say like one sentence about the character and you'll know exactly who he's talking about. I've never read an author like quite like his writing, and it's phenomenal. His quotes, his passages, everything are so beautiful, but also will literally, like, this man, I've never read an author that knows the power of a sentence quite like Fredrik Backman, because he will kill me in one sentence. I will just start bawling. So it's just phenomenal. Absolutely love his writing. I can't say anything else. You have to read this damn series. Like, it's so freaking good. I really want to watch the TV show. I've been wanting to watch the TV show for the past few days, and I haven't gotten to it yet. But I really want to watch the show. So it's a mini series, and it's not a TV show. It's on HBO. So okay, you guys, number one, drum roll please. If you haven't guessed it, you obviously don't know me, but also who's gonna watch this? Me. So number one is Blood Over Bright Haven by Emma Wang. This book absolutely devastated me. And if I don't sing about it, I will cry. This book is a pure masterpiece. Not just 6 stars, but 10 stars. 1,000,000 stars, because this book is phenomenal. Do yourself a favor and read this standalone fantasy, because it's absolutely pure genius. I must say it again, and I don't care if I say it too many times. Okay, this book is so universally loved. Everyone that reads this book, they're like, Emma Wang, Emma Wang just came out of nowhere and dropped this fucking masterpiece on people, and she's like, mic drop, you're about to be emotionally devastated. I'm such an idiot. So, this book is about Cyonica. Why can't I say her name? Siona? She is a female mage. And there have not been any female mages in this society. So obviously she's always competing with men. Because, men think they can do everything when they just need a woman to do everything for them. So, not to toot my own horn, but that's how my ex was. So, maybe he should watch this video. But anyway, I'm a be a catty bitch now. I don't care. So, I would love to reread this book, but also I don't know if I could handle rereading this book. Like, it's my favorite book that I've read this year, but it's probably my favorite book that I've ever read in my life, beside A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. But the red sprayed edges, just, you need to read this masterpiece. Like, I don't really have words because I'm literally speechless. I'll read the synopsis, though, so you can get a little bit of a background, and then we'll be done. It says, the first woman ever admitted to a prestigious order of mages unravels a secret conspiracy that could change the practice of magic forever in this standalone dark fantasy from the author of Sword of Kaigen. For 20 years, Sayana has devoted every waking moment to the study of magic, fueled by a mad desire to achieve the impossible. Can I speak? To be the first woman ever admitted to the High Magistracy at the University of Magics and Industry. When Sayana finally passes the qualifying exam and becomes a high mage, she finds her challenges have just begun. Her new colleagues are determined to make her feel unwelcome, and instead of a qualified lab assistant, they give her a janitor. When neither Sayana nor her peers realize is that her I don't know what that means. That her assistant was not always a janitor. 10 years ago, he was a nomadic hunter who lost his family on their perilous journey from the wild plains to the city. But now he sees the opportunity to understand the forces that decimated his tribe, drove him from his homeland, and keep the privileged in power. Very political, very, very on the nose, to a T, what's happening in the U.S. today. At first, mage and outsider have a fractious relationship, but working together, they uncover an ancient secret that could change the course of magic forever if it doesn't get them killed first. It's just such a basic synopsis of what this book entails, because literally every single sentence that this woman writes, you will overanalyze to a T, but also it'll just make you think so much. And like I said, the political messaging in this book and the underlying messages and the way that she connects her messages and the romance in this book, but it's a very small subplot of romance in this. It's mostly fantasy and the unique magic system and the downfall of the elite in this society is literally phenomenally written. But also, I cried so much after reading this book, and like I said, I literally stared at a wall. And I also wanted to physically throw up about 5 times reading this book because I literally was scared to finish it because I was like, I've never felt like this sick emotional feeling of reading a book ever, because that's how much this book made me physically unwell, but also because I was so immersed in this phenomenally written book. So just, if you don't want to feel that way, maybe don't read it. But if you want something that's really amazing and it's just a standalone fantasy, you don't have to worry about reading 5 million books to get to one fucking point sometimes, this is for you. It's amazing. I love it. Masterpiece. Love it. So yeah, that is it, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed my top 10. I don't know why I'm so hungry. I ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Well, I ate breakfast. I had a snack at work. And then I had dinner, and then I had a snack when I came home. So that is it. I'm really tired and I need to get into bed soon so I can be ready for the beach tomorrow. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on my Instagram at CBW819 and check out my Goodreads and my TikTok. Ow, I just scratched my face with my nail. Ouch. In the links below in the description box. You guys can follow me on TikTok. I post a lot of book talk content over there. And on Goodreads, if you want to see all my reviews of every single book I read, check out my Goodreads and all my ratings. But yeah, that is it. And I hope you guys have a great day and keep reading, and let me know what your favorite book was this year that you read. I really would love to know. So yeah, that's it. Bye. Okay, so hey there guys. So I am dead tired. Dead tired. But I did want to mention a couple more books as like honorable mentions. I'm also surprised that I didn't put Sunrise on the Reaping in my top 10, but I think the books that I picked were my top reads of the year. I mean, I love Sunrise on the Reaping, but I think the ones that I put in my top 10 are still my top 10 this year, because I probably would have put Sunrise on the Reaping where House of the Cerulean Sea is, but I loved House of the Cerulean Sea so much. I think I would say Sunrise on the Reaping would be tied. We're tied with The Nightingale. I mean, I still love The Hunger Games, but it's like, that's like a default given. The same thing with Boys with Tommen, but like, I don't know. Again, I feel really comfortable with my top 10. But Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, if you guys didn't know, is Haymitch's story in The Hunger Games, and it is the second prequel book after The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and I finally decided to partake in the Hunger Games world this year, and I finished the original trilogy at the end of April. Finally, I decided to binge it this year, and no regrets. Absolutely love it. It's a masterpiece. And then I read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes the first week of May, and like I said, that might be my favorite book in the series. I love it so much. I think that book is phenomenal. Maybe that would be in the top 10, actually, more so than Sunrise on the Reaping. But again, like, The Hunger Games would be in my top 10, like my top 1,000,000, because I love The Hunger Games so much. So like, it's just in its own league, to be honest. I mean, I could say it's my top series this year. I'm going to say it's my top series this year was The Hunger Games. I have to say it was my favorite series this year. So let me just say that. Even though I put Beartown as number 2 as the entire trilogy, because it's like one whole story to me. So The Hunger Games, just all the books in general this year, because I did read all the books this year, was my top series this year. I had to say that. I don't know how the hell I left out the whole series in my top 10. I mean, it's tied with number 1 pretty much. So anyway, I just loved it so much. And then a couple more romance books that I wanted to mention. Summer in the City by Alex Astor. I thought that book was adorable. One of my favorite romance books that I read this year. That was actually my only 5-star. Sorry. By Alex Astor that I've read from her so far, because as you guys know, I've read the entire Lightlark series. She just announced book 4, so very excited for that book to come out in December. But I really loved Summer in the City. It was one of my only billionaire romances that I've read this year, and I've never really read a billionaire romance before that. And then I just read Made for Each Other by Lynn Painter, so those are really the only 2 billionaire romances I've really ever read. And I really loved both of them. But Summer in the City was 5 stars for me. I really loved it. And then, are there any other ones in my stack? No. Obviously, I love Say You'll Remember Me and Great Big Beautiful Life, both by Abby Jimenez and Emily Henry. And also, I was surprised that I didn't say in my book mid-year book tag video that Kara Bathstone is one of my favorite authors of the year. I mean, um, of this year because I just read Ready or Not in January. That was my first book by her. And then I read Promise Me Sunshine Shine in March. And then, like I said, I listened to Better Luck Next Time back in May. And I really loved all three of her books. I've given all three of them 5 stars. So, love her books. Um, but I did mention her in my honorable mentions. But also, I just need to talk about her in general because I really do love her books. Um, And then the other one was A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon. That was such an unexpected 5 star from me. And I did mention in my mid-year book tag that she was one of my favorite new authors that I read, which is Sarah Hawley. Very excited to read her Servant of Earth series because the second book comes out in November. So I think I'm going to read the first book before it comes out. So yeah, that is pretty much it. I don't really have many other ones. I mean, I loved the Shatter Me series this year. I also read that this year. But again, and the Ember and the Ashes series also loved. I just finished that series a couple weeks ago. Loved it. I also read the prequel book, and that was great too, which is called Air. Yeah. Rebecca Surley's books have been really good this year. She's another new favorite author to me. I didn't really love her third book. I really didn't. I read in 5 years this year and I really didn't like it. And yeah, I mean, read Fearless this year. That was good, but it wasn't a 5 star read. I mean, I'm scrolling through my Goodreads and I think I've mostly said the books that have really stood out to me this year. But also I don't want to change it because these are all the books that I thought of right away because why did I say that's so weird? And most of them are on my top shelf, on my bookshelf, which is Beartown Releasing 10. Remarkably Bright Creatures, Onyx Storm, and Silver Elite are all on the same shelf. So I think that's saying something. So, because those are basically like my top 5 books of the entire year are on that shelf. So, which I didn't even realize that until right now. Besides Blood of a Bright Haven. I don't think. Also, Jen McKinley has been one of my favorite authors this year because I've read 2 books by her this year and I really did enjoy both of them. And then she's also a romance author. But guys, I'm so goddamn tired. I think I need to go. Yeah, it's pretty much it. So I'm gonna go. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So bye.